Welcome to This Explainer. Look, we're going to jump right in today because we have 3 genuinely unsettling, completely true case studies of late-night encounters to unpack. We're going to break down the mechanics of these terrifying liminal spaces to understand the extreme situational risks of highway motels and show you exactly how a routine stop can spiral into a fight for survival. I absolutely love this quote from our source material because it perfectly captures the eerie, vulnerable reality of the cases we're about to explore. When you're exhausted, miles from home, and just desperate for rest, your guard naturally drops. And as you'll see, staying at a creepy motel is an absolute speed run of meeting dangerous individuals who are waiting for exactly that moment of weakness.
Okay, let's look at the actual trade-off we make here. We choose motels to save a few bucks or grab a quick nap on a long road trip, right? But look at what we trade for that convenience. We trade secure interior hallways for exterior doors that open straight into a dark parking lot. We trade security staff for absolute isolation. As our source files clearly show, this bare-bones structural design massively reduces both your security and your privacy.
Case 1. The Mimic. Picture this. An exhausted driver pulls off a Virginia highway at 1 a.m. He gets placed in an isolated second-floor room. He's trying to sleep, but he hears what sounds like a couple arguing through the thin walls, an angry, deep male voice and a softer, nervous female voice. But then, he notices the realization mapped out here. There is zero overlap. Each voice waits perfectly for the other to finish. The sickening truth hits him. It's not a couple. It's one single disturbed man, completely alone in the room next door, mimicking both voices. The tension just spikes from there. The arguing suddenly stops. Dead silence. Then, boom, boom, boom. 3 slow knocks hit the shared drywall right beside the driver's bed, and a creepy, playful voice speaks directly through the wall. "I hear you in there." Obviously, the driver grabs the remote to turn up the TV volume, but then he hears the unmistakable vibration of footsteps outside on the second-floor balcony. They're approaching his room. He creeps over, peeks through a tiny crack in the window blinds, and bam! He makes direct eye contact with a man whose face is pressed practically against the glass. The driver jumps back, and the guy outside just starts doing these absolutely bizarre, high-pitched and deep Southern character accents right outside the door, knocking harder and harder, switching voices over and over. Frantic call to the front desk. The worker finally comes upstairs, flashlight in one hand, the other hand resting cautiously on his holster, which tells you a lot about the situation. The worker tries to get the mimic to open his door. Gets no response. And when the driver opens his own door to explain what's happening, the worker drops a terrifying detail. That man wasn't just passing through. He, quote, had been staying there for a while. Naturally, the driver demands to be moved. Management puts him in a downstairs room right by the front office. He locks the door, feels a bit relieved, and eventually drifts off. But later, in the pitch dark, he wakes up to the sound of movement outside. He looks at the window crack and sees the exact same man's shadow. The mimic had tracked him down. Only now, he wasn't doing voices or knocking, he was just silently walking past the window over and over, staring into the room every single time he passed. The driver stayed awake until sunrise, packed his car, and literally fled. Moving on to case 2, the ambush. This next case involves a family of women on a 2022 road trip back to Texas, and it perfectly demonstrates how a simple, everyday mistake in these liminal spaces can attract immediate danger. Just look at this escalation timeline. At 8 p.m., they stop at a motel. While in the lobby, standing near a guy in a black sweater, the sister says their room number out loud over the phone. Big mistake. They return at 10 p.m. to find that same man whispering in a pitch-dark corner, and the sister accidentally repeats the room number again. Just 20 minutes later, the stepmom opens their door to put out the trash and finds that exact same man plastered silently against the wall right beside their room. The family completely panics, packs everything immediately, and demands a refund. But as they rush out to the parking lot, the situation devolves from creepy to a full-on coordinated threat. They're suddenly confronted by 3 men. The first man from the lobby is there, a second man is already in the parking lot, aggressively cupping his hands against car windows trying to break in, and then a third man appears out of the dark, and all 3 of them begin a slow, coordinated advance toward the family's car. With everyone screaming in the car, the stepmom literally just floors it. They miraculously speed away while the 3 men just stand there watching them leave. They drive for hours, finally stopping at 3 a.m. at a dilapidated, roach-infested motel. But you know what? dealing with insect pests is a highly preferable alternative to finding out exactly what a coordinated ambush of 3 men had planned for you.
Case 3. The Watcher.
Our final case study brings us to hour 11 of a grueling 17-hour drive to Florida. A totally exhausted couple pulls into a pitch-black, dead motel. This brilliantly illustrates the danger of dropping your guard for even a second. The guy realizes he left his phone charger in the car. Not wanting to lock himself out, he subconsciously leaves the room door cracked open. He digs around his car for a minute, grabs his charger, turns around, and his heart practically stops. Standing right beside the cracked open door to their room is a very large man wearing an unseasonable trench coat. So the narrator jogs over to intercept the guy. The stranger has this bizarrely calm demeanor and claims in a really soft, off-putting voice that he is just staying upstairs going for a stroll. The narrator quickly slips inside, shuts and locks the door, but he doesn't hear footsteps walking away. So he literally gets on his knees, crawls over to the window, and delicately moves the curtain to peek out. The man in the trench coat is standing completely still, staring directly at their motel room door. The narrator lays on the floor, watching him for 10 full minutes, and the man does not move a single muscle. Terrified, he crawls over to the bed and shakes his girlfriend Julie awake to corroborate what's happening. Groggily, she gets on her knees, looks at the cracked curtain at the door, and says, "He's not there." Which begs one extremely chilling question: where did he go? He tells her, "Look harder. Look at the rooms across the parking lot." Julie gasps and runs back to the bed in a total panic. The man in the trench coat had silently backed up across the entire expanse of the asphalt. He was standing perfectly still in the dark, facing their room, staring directly into their window. He was fully aware he was being watched, and he was just staring right back. The couple arms themselves with a blunt object, and they basically wait in terror for the rest of the night. But the true horror was cemented the next morning. When returning the key, they told the front desk owner about the man in the trench coat. The owner looked absolutely terrified. She revealed she had no security cameras, she knew of absolutely no such man on the property, and worst of all, the couple were the only guests staying at the motel that entire night. No one else was booked.
Section 4. Lessons in Survival. Through these cases, we've broken down 3 totally different scenarios: the erratic mimic, the coordinated ambush, and the silent watcher. But they all share a common thread, right? They exploit the inherent vulnerabilities of cheap roadside lodging. So here is your situational survival guide. Never ever announce your room number out loud in a shared space. When you enter your room, lock the door immediately. Don't leave it cracked open even for a second. Assume that cheap motels have absolutely no security cameras or meaningful guardrails. And above all, trust your gut. Losing a few dollars is always better than ignoring a deep sense of dread. I want to leave you with this final thought. These cases show us that isolation in these places is a complete illusion. The next time you find yourself exhausted, driving through the dead of night, and pulling off the highway to look for a cheap bed, remember what we unpacked today. Ask yourself, when you close your eyes in a cheap roadside motel, are you truly sure you're the only one awake? Stay safe out there, stay aware, and thanks for joining me on this explainer.